We have Kevin Freeman on with us. If you know the name Kevin Freeman, good for you. Kevin is a guy who we first met because I was talking about this report that had been done by the Pentagon that showed that in 2008 we were under attack by a foreign government. Well, that report was done by Kevin Freeman, and that's how we first met and became friends. He sees the world very much like I do. He started the Economic War Room, which is something that I'm so glad he did, something really, really important. It's a digital media, weekly broadcast financial news show, but it is not like the financial news shows you get anywhere else. They are talking to you about what's really going on. You can find it at The Blaze, and he is joining us now, Kevin Freeman. Hi, Kevin.
Hi, Glenn. Good morning.
I want to talk to you about a couple of things. First of all, let me start with Janet Yellen. Janet, was the head of the Fed recently, but yesterday, play the cut, please. Biden Treasury Secretary pick promises.
As you've said before, Mr. President-elect, out of our collective pain as a nation, we will find collective purpose to control the pandemic and build our economy back better than before, to rebuild our infrastructure and create better jobs, to invest in our workforce, to advance racial equity and make sure the economic recovery includes everyone, to address the climate crisis with American ingenuity and American jobs, working together with the outstanding national security and foreign policy team you announced last week to help restore America's global leadership.
Okay, I want to ask you this, Kevin. What the hell does racial equity and climate crisis have to do with the Treasury?
Glenn, everything has to do with racial equity and climate crisis because that's the way they grab power. I mean, everything. So we're looking at this in the financial markets where they talk about ESG, environmental, social justice, and governance, and the NASDAQ's already putting forth a rule that requires that you have a certain gender balance on your board or you can't be listed on the NASDAQ. They're using their same tools, globalist tools, to take over every aspect of our society, and having Janet Yellen at the head of the Treasury is just same old Obama policies, same direction, only on faster course. And you didn't mention, or she didn't mention China in there. She's a very pro-China person. So it
Biden,
is all of the worst of Obama all at once.
So let me just talk about a couple of things that are going to affect people, and that is the decline of the dollar. The dollar has already declined. And in the last, it's been, I think, the worst 3 years for in a long while for the dollar. But we're now talking about if the spending things that they are talking about of just executive order, just print the money and ship it out, it could collapse the dollar. Can you explain what a 30% drop in the dollar means to the average person?
Well, first, let's say the collapse in the dollar is a planned idea. It's a globalist idea to remove the dollar as the primary reserve currency of the world because it gives too much power to the Americans. What it would do is if you drop the value of the dollar 30%, and because we import so much, because we sell our debt overseas, automatically our standard of living would drop a similar amount. We would lose the ability, so you go to buy stuff at the store, you take your $100, and all of a sudden you're only able to buy the equivalent of $70. You literally lose 30%. So your dollar purchasing power would drop dramatically. You pay more for everything that you're buying, especially imported goods. Now, it would help big U.S. multinational corporations. They would have more competitive pricing overseas, but it would definitely hurt the American consumer.
Yeah, and we're talking about people who go to Walmart, people who go to Target, where the majority of stuff is coming from overseas. We won't have the buying power, so that won't be cheap anymore. And, if you're losing 30% of your dollar, $100 is now worth $70. It is a hidden tax on what they're doing. They're saying, oh, no, we're going to print this money. It's not going to. is what it won't affect it. We don't have to even raise taxes. Well, you are, because you're devaluing the dollar. That's a 30% tax on the dollar. I have that right?
Absolutely right.
Okay.
Absolutely right.
Let's talk about one more thing on this, and it's called the LIBOR. And I know I'm getting into the weeds here with most people, but as I understand the LIBOR, it is the rate that banks lend money to other banks, correct? Overnight.
Right. A few limited banks in London that set the interest rates for the entire world pretty much, and will do so for another short period of time. But yeah, it's a handful of banks. I think 5 banks or something.
And I have always heard that there were 2 ways to really find out if banks were in trouble: the discount window, which is gone now, and the LIBOR. If the LIBOR rate goes up, it means the banking industry knows banks are in trouble. Is that accurate?
Yeah, the repo rate also. Any overnight lending between banks suggests that banks are in trouble. And we talked about this probably 2 or 3 years ago when it unusually spiked and no one could explain it.
Correct. So what does it mean that they're now getting rid of the LIBOR?
Well, they're moving it from the 5 banks. The basis for this is to say we've been managing this, and it's been proven to have been manipulated. There have been cases, and people paid big fines because they were manipulating LIBOR. So they're going to make it a larger offering rate. So it's going to be based on SOFR, SOFR, Secured Overnight Financing Rate, but that can be gamed as well. This is a part of the deep state globalist approach to controlling everything. So they're going to switch it from one saying we're making a big change and it's going to be much improved, and we're going to another that they're going to be able to control just as easily.
Okay. I want to talk to you about something else you've been doing. You put together a website, everylegalvote.com, which is citizens that can use reports and affidavits and math to answer the critical election questions about fraud. Did they see something? You're not validating. You're sharing, though, this information, all the information in one place so others can verify. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, if we find something that's patently false, we'll remove it. If we find something that's proven later to be false, we'll remove it. But we're allowing social sharing. People have been cut off on Twitter, on Facebook, and all the social media from even seeing reports that are coming out there. And then they've got this little stamp at the bottom that says this isn't accurate. You know, the AP has called the election. And so the narrative is squelched. Any opportunity for people to see what's going on. Everylegalvote.com provides that. It's a social sharing site. It's a place where you can report your own instance of fraud, and we've had tens of thousands of people who've come on and said, this is what happened to me. This is why my vote wasn't valid. This is my mother who has dementia and is in a care facility, and supposedly she's voted, or my maiden name voted, some women are telling us. So there are tens of thousands of instances of fraud being reported to our website. We pass it on to the legal teams or to the authorities, but we also make it a game so that every day you can come and you can see what's new. You can also see memes that our viewers have created. It's really a fun website about a really sad topic.
So let me ask you this. If Donald Trump would have won, we know the Democrats, even if it was a landslide, the Democrats had game planned civil war, that they were going to hold the country hostage. If Donald Trump did not legitimately win, if they can't make the case, then Republicans are not going to be happy, but we're going to go along and we won't, we'll fight to make sure it doesn't happen again. But we will still not go to civil war like the left would. If he is found to be the president and they somehow or another flip some of these numbers, this is really, really dangerous because the left will go out of their mind. Do you agree?
I do, but any security person will tell you if someone sticks a gun in your back and says, get in the car, you fight then and there, you don't get in the car. Before people got on the trains, they were told it would get better. You'll have a better life. You have to fight when you can. Right now, we have to demand election integrity. And honestly, if Trump had cheated, I don't know if I'd be putting up this website, but I probably would, because our election is bigger than any one president, and the ability to vote and have every legal vote counted is far more important than any single president. And if we don't win this battle here and now, in January, and they use the same systems in Georgia, there will be 2 Senate seats that miraculously go blue. And all of a sudden people wake up and say, how did that happen? Well, they use the exact same people, and they use the exact same systems, and they manufactured the same ballots. This election was fraudulent.
You sound absolutely convinced that this was a fraud.
Oh, there is no doubt. There is no way that Joe Biden got 80 million votes, more than anyone else, and won the fewest counties of any supposed winning candidate. That's
all right. So wait. So I agree with you on a gut level. On a gut level, I am with you. However, do you have any evidence that could tell us, to help us tell others that it is true? What's the most damning evidence that you have or have seen?
Well, several things. One, before the election, before any of this happened, we ran shows on Economic War Room showing Dominion systems and ES&S as vulnerable, and here's how you would hack them, and here's what it would look like if you did. And we showed those, and we weren't alone. Kill Chain documentary on HBO. PBS did a documentary on this. New York Times ran a story from a University of Michigan professor. I mean, we showed the vulnerability. Then you see the statistical evidence and the way that the votes come in, the swing in like these 6 specific counties that are all in swing states that have this mysterious stoppage of counting, and then all of a sudden they restart and they have a flood of ballots that's greater than the machines could possibly tabulate happen all at once. And I think Patrick Byrne was on your show yesterday. We had him on our show Monday. 130,000 ballots in a row that were Joe Biden. Statistically, that's not possible. It's like winning the Powerball lottery 4 times in a row. And then you have Dr. Shiva from MIT, 4 degrees from MIT, and he shows a regression analysis, and the only way to make the data fit is if you take votes from Biden and give them to Trump. You put that with the affidavits that we're getting and the testimonials that we're getting from postal workers and everyone else showing that ballots were brought in or they were moving them across state lines. When you add it all up, there is so much evidence that demonstrates this. Now what we need is access to the machines where we can go into the logs and look at them. And when you have that, that's the final piece. But I'm telling you, they would convict a murderer on the evidence that we have right now. Everything we put on everylegalvote.com would be sufficient evidence to convict a murderer. DNA evidence is only statistical evidence. Statistics tells you that it's a 99% match, something like that. Well, using that same type of analysis, we can look at the voting patterns and we can see the votes that have come in and the Edison data that they put out, and we can demonstrate this is fraudulent to any reasonable person that understands statistics.
Kevin Freeman from the Economic War Room and everylegalvote.com. You should check it out. Kevin, thank you so much.